This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by the good-looking folks at GoDaddy.com. Use our code Linux and save yourself some cash.
Everyone, and welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 24, Episode 6. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey there, Matt. Should I tell the folks about the big show?
Let's get into it.
All right, so this week I got myself a Nexus 7. In the second half of the show, I'm going to give you my brief review of the hardware, because I know a lot of you have heard about it, but I'll share my thoughts. Also, should you get a Nexus 10 or a Nexus 7, my thoughts on that. But then, the real fun, I loaded Ubuntu on this thing.
And it runs like a champ.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Yeah, so there's definitely some limitations, and we're going to cover those, and we'll discuss if it's ready for prime time and where Canonical's going with this, and why they chose the Nexus 7 over something that's maybe more open from top to bottom.
Definitely.
So we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. In the news segment, not only are we going to cover the news of the week, we've also got Netflix running on our Ubuntu box here in the studio.
Launcher and all.
Oh my gosh! I am just all verklempt now. We got Netflix running on Ubuntu, and we'll show that to you in the news segment. But of course, in this segment, it's our picks. We got some good ones this week, including a really great Android app for you Roku users.
You're gonna love it.
And I've got a great desktop app that might be very appropriate for the holidays. So, all right, Matt, before we get to all that, why don't I do my Runs Linux pick this week?
Get into her.
This was sent in by a viewer named Doug, and Doug writes, in my neck of the woods, once again, we have the fastest, biggest supercomputer, and of course, it runs Linux. He mentions that it might be running the Cray Linux environment, which is actually based on SUSE Linux Enterprise. But it's all, Linux at the end of the day. It's Oak Ridge's Titan supercomputer. It was just benchmarked at the beginning of this month. They ranked all the supercomputers.
Wow.
This one came in at number 1. Now check out for you video.
Got a cool name.
Look at the pictures of the guys. Here's the guys assembling it, putting it all together, the guys and gals, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's a series of a bunch of computers that are all interconnected through these series of racks, and then they put this nice decoration over it.
No, I noticed they're all wearing blue. I wonder if that's like a uniform or...
It's like a dust protector kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. But that's cool. I mean, that's really... And I love the name.
And
awesome.
Matt, as you are probably well aware, the trend is our friend on this one. 94% of the world's top 500 computers run Linux, according to Linux.com. You can look at this. Look at this pie chart.
I think the pie chart pretty much spells it out.
Yeah, 93.8%, and then the next biggest chunk goes to just general Unix, then mixed, and then you have Windows.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't see more on the BSD front.
That could be under general Unix. Well, no, I guess they do call out BSD.
Yeah, they have it specified. I mean that honestly, because
Yeah.
BSD is a really great operating system.
It's really quite small.
Huh. But that's cool, though. I'm glad. Good for Linux.
Yeah. Only 3 of the world's top supercomputers, ranking at number 132, 165, and 183, respectively, run Windows. So, that tells you something. Something.
Reality check.
I am so excited about today's show. So many great things to cover.
Good
We
stuff.
have been spoiled. So we've had, recently, we've talked about Lightworks on Linux.
Yep.
We've talked about Steam on Linux.
A huge deal there.
Now we're going to talk about Netflix on Linux.
Oh, it's
crazy.
Awesome.
So before we get to all of that, I want to say good morning to the fine folks at GoDaddy.com.
Good morning.
Good morning, GoDaddy, longtime supporters of the Linux Action Show. And they have a deal that expires on the 7th of December.
Okay.
That is so nuts. We mentioned it last week. I want to mention it again. You can get a .com for $4.93 or 95 freaking cents. $4.95 freaking cents.
Oh, man.
Expires December 7th. Use the code Linux495 when you're checking out. You get up to 3 domains, and it's good for 10 years.
I like that.
So you get that renewal for 10 years. That's
sweet.
That's crazy.
That's really sweet.
That's crazy. You can also, if you just want to save 20% off the top, maybe you're doing some renewals or getting some hosting, you can use our code GO20OFF6.
That I've actually used here recently.
Yeah, it's very nice. They got Danica here on the front page, and the beautiful Danica is holding up a smartphone. These are free. They got them for Android and iPhone. I've mentioned them before. What's great about these, with the $4.95, just keep that code in mind. Grab the app, and then when you're on the go, if you're in a conversation or you have a great idea and you want to grab a domain, you can use the app to get the domain really quick and use our code to get it for $4. $5.
Well,
really.
and what's nice about this is I have a
great.
real life story behind that because I've actually come up with domain names. I'm thinking,
Oh, yeah.
this is great.
Oh, yeah.
I write it down, put it in a note or
you
in
lose
an
it
app or
or-
whatever, and I forget I have
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But by doing it this way, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're good to go.
I know. So thank you to
No-brainer.
GoDaddy.com, longtime supporters, the world's #1 domain name registrar who's going to help you make an impact online. They got great codes. Again, to get a .com for $4.95. That's crazy. I've never even heard of that kind of deal. Linux,
craziness.
$4.95. Linux, $4.95. Or just to save 20%, use our code GO20OFF6.
Love it.
Thank you, GoDaddy.
Big thank you.
And all right, Matt, now let's get into the picks this week. I'm really looking forward to Juice.
Juice it up.
Let's juice up, Matt.
Juice,
So
juice,
you
juice,
said
juice.
you said to me a couple weeks ago, you're like, I found this great app because you recently got a new Android phone.
Yeah, I mean, the backstory is that I have a laptop, unlike many of you folks probably out there, I have a laptop hooked up to my TV. My wife feels very strongly that it's an eyesore. And she's just like, aesthetically, this makes me want to claw my eyes out.
She probably doesn't like using it either.
No, she's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a remote set up on it. I mean, I got.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Okay, all right.
I made it easy.
You're taking
to
care
use.
of business.
Yeah. She digs that part, but she just really wanted to find an alternative. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I got this new Android phone. Now
You
there's got to
guys-
be a way to get media onto my TV set.
You guys are big Roku guys.
Oh,
right?
we're
You
huge
have-
Roku guys.
Yeah.
And so we already had a Roku box hooked up already, HDMI into that. I was like, okay, so clearly there's got to be an app between my Android device and the Roku to bridge these two things together. No problem. Juice comes to the rescue because Juice has a Roku channel and an Android app that allow you to stream pretty much anything you want to your Roku box, and it does stream anything you want.
I would say so. This is the secret magic here. Is they're combining technology on the phone
Right.
with technology on the Roku, which through the
Exactly.
channel system, which is totally legit, works perfectly.
It's all checks and balances are all there. It's awesome. It's free, and you can home movies, or maybe you have whatever pictures or anything that you can think of that's video or pictures. You can do that easily. Here's a really bad quality video I took with a little.
We're gonna have a few of these this episode, Matt.
Yeah.
So don't worry, don't feel bad.
I have a little flip cam. I didn't know the other one charged. So you can see that I'm all connected there. And I was there, so all right, so we got all that running. I've got my Roku set up, and so the app is ready to go. So then it's going to transfade into the next scene.
So
here.
you launched the Roku application from the app on
I
the
did.
Android.
Here, coming up in this next piece here. So now we're looking at, my wife was watching Hulu Plus, and now I launched the app with a single button click on my phone. It took her out of that and actually brought up, will be bringing up, Juice on Roku.
Oh, that looks nice.
Wham,
So
bam, bam.
that's pretty.
And all the navigation is not done with the remote, it's done with my phone. So I can then jump to the video button up there at the top.
So the phone's kind of a remote and a media
It
streamer.
is, yes. And then I was able to say, okay, I'm going to watch the video of my cat and dog, which
Now,
pummels me.
obviously, you got to be on the same network to make
Yeah.
this work. The same local
Yeah.
area network.
Right.
It's not going to
All
work.
Wi-Fi.
It's
Yep.
not going to work if you're on 4G or 3G on your phone.
No.
Yeah.
That's all WLAN.
So it sort of sends the file to the Roku box. It seems to buffer
Yeah,
it.
it buffers it real nice and easy. As long as you're on a clean Wi-Fi channel, I can't stress that enough, it will come out okay.
There you go.
And you got the cat dancing around and all that sort of
So
stuff.
you could just load up a bunch of videos on your SD card on your Android
you
device.
can, yeah. I mean, like, let's say you've got this really cool Creative Commons work. Like, let's say you wanted to watch Computer Chronicles on, you wanted to stream it from your phone. You could do that. These are all options.
Or photos or videos. You've like this video. Did you take this video with your phone?
I did, and my dog decided to
Sniff your
cameo.
crotch.
Yeah, he sniffed my crotch and cameo in it. My big dog decided I'm going to attack you.
Well, that's really cool. So that is Juice,
Yep.
and it's a combination of a Roku channel and an app on the Android device. And they have I don't know what their free version does. Demo.
Yeah,
Demo.
it's a demo version, and so yeah, if you like it, then you can purchase it. But they recommend trying the demo version. Now, is it only for Roku on the box side? I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but it may
I think
be.
so. It says Juice for Roku.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as cheap as Roku's are,
Yeah,
just do it.
And the nice thing about Roku is they have this open channel system.
Yeah.
There's a Jupiter Broadcasting.
That's how I watch all the Jupiter Broadcasting
Yeah.
stuff is on Roku.
Yeah,
There has
so
an
you
app
can
for
go
that.
grab the JB Roku app, and you can even watch the live stream.
So
it's
yeah,
really cool.
so the things to remember are, run a good app. Make sure your Wi-Fi channel is nice and clear, because if it's bogged down by other folks, it's going to stink. So if it's clear, you're good to go. Get everything set up, and it works really, really, really well. Maybe you got some backed up DVDs or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
whatever you're doing,
So that's Juice for Roku. We'll
yeah.
have a link in that. Before we get off the Android topic,
Yeah.
I didn't open it. You posted a good little helpful tip on your Google Plus page.
I did. Yeah.
Here it is.
Yep.
So you posted a pro tip about for folks that are trying to mount their Android device onto their Linux system.
Right, a lot of the 1204 users, such as myself, because I tend to stick with the long-term support stuff myself. I was finding that this is great. I previously had an iPhone, I could mount it with, I plugged it in and it mounted, no big deal. But with Android, I wasn't having that success because it simply wasn't mounted.
Yeah, they
correctly.
changed how it works in the later versions of Android. So if you have a 2.2 or older phone, I think you still just get it as a mount device.
I literally would plug it in and getting nothing.
Yeah, that's how it works now. They use the media file protocol or whatever
it was wild. So, but then I went ahead and upgraded
MTPFS.
Yeah, MTP.
Media Transfer Protocol File System, probably.
Yep, just upgraded that, and I actually have, the links will be in the show notes.
So you took the 12.10 version of MTPFS and put it on 12.04.
Dropped the deb into that, and bam, it was good
And
to
so
go.
the version that you needed was, you have it listed here, you needed like 1.12 of S. So if you're on a different distro, you just got to make sure you get the latest MTPFS, and it works out some of the bugs.
Just a recognition thing. Yeah, it was real easy. And a lot of you pointed out you mount it manually. That's good.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you. But for people who just want to get it done, don't really want to spend a lot of time fooling with it.
So we'll have a link to that if you've been having troubles with that in the show notes.
It's good.
Link to the app too. So
pretty sweet.
I can't. So right now I don't have juice on the Nexus because I had to put Ubuntu on there. But once I get Ubuntu off, because I think I probably will. I'm not sure. All right, what perfect world would be if they make it so I can roll.
Yeah, that'd be my perfect world for sure.
All right, Matt, I have got an app pick this week that at first people will be like, "What? What is he talking about?" It's called
Fatch, huh?
Fatch, I think. Fatch. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Fatch.
So it's a photo batch processing utility for Linux, and I came up with a little problem this week when I was working for my client. They had a whole bunch of documentation that needed to be updated on their corporate wiki, but the problem was the Windows admin before me had put everything in a bitmap. All the images for all the screenshots were BMPs.
Yeah, that sounds like a Windows.
Well, the wiki software, DocuWiki, it just won't accept. It won't accept BMPs. No. You can't do it. So I wanted to batch convert all of the files to a different format and change a few properties of them. Now, there's literally like a command called convert that will do this on the command line. There's a lot of cool image manipulation tools on the command line, but if you want a GUI to do it, Fatch might be what you're looking for. Phatch. And it works through a series of actions and jobs that you create. So if I want to say do a conversion job, I say add. And I have all kinds of options.
I like
here.
that.
From I can auto adjust the contrast.
Yeah.
I can key out, so if you have a predominant color like green in the photo, it'll actually do a little green screen on the photo. So you can do.
That's cool.
It'll take out a color and make it
I love the
transparent.
job control on this. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Adjust colors, adjust the EXIF tags. So if you want to change dates on EXIF tags and things like that, remove EXIF tags. If you want to do blur effects, if you want to do a Polaroid effect, if you want to make a grid, if you want to take a directory of images and make a grid of all of those images, this will do that. It'll make all kinds of things, but of course, what I wanted to do was they have watermarks. You can apply watermarks, which would be kind of neat.
There would be
that would
you
you can batch a whole directory and watermark them all, right?
Big time
and you could do a whole series. You could say pull this directory in, batch them all with a watermark, and then convert them all and make sure they're all at a max, no bigger than this file size or no bigger than this resolution. So you could standardize them all. But for what I needed to do, I just wanted to save to another format. So you can hit save. So now I've created this job where it's going to say take the file name and save as type, and you could choose anything from bitmap to PDF. Why don't we just for fun? Let's say I'm going to convert these images to PDF.
Okay.
I don't know why I would. I don't know why I would want to do that.
Sure.
I could also specify a resolution for them all if I wanted to, and where it's going to save them all to. By default, it's going to go to my desktop and then a Fatch directory. Okay. So that's as simple as you really need. I just have 3 commands in there really, and now I can say run. It'll ask me for the it'll ask me for the directory. I've already supplied the directory, but you could just browse and go find it. You can say all of the files in that directory, a specific files, or the contents of my clipboard, which I think is really great. And you can tell what types of files to ignore if you want. So then you say add that to a batch. I'm going to say add those. It says, okay, I found these are the images in that folder that I'm going to apply conversion to, and I'm going to take all of these JPEGs here, and I'm going to make them PDFs. So there it goes.
Oh, that's slick.
It's running. So it just did it. It did 6 images in 2 seconds. Okay.
Oh,
and now I go into my Fatch directory, and Bob's Drunkle, I have a bunch of PDFs in there.
I love it.
So I can open them up now.
What a time saver, right?
Yeah.
Versus doing that manually. Good.
Yeah, totally, right? And PDF is such an oddball one, but I just thought that kind of shows the power of
how much control you have.
We went from JPEG and PNG to PDFs, and that's just neat.
That's cool.
And with family stuff coming up, if you get a whole batch of files that you want to convert to a specific thing or make a specific size, and you
Photos for mom and dad.
snapping a lot of photos over the holiday season, you could use something like this to to process them in large quantities. So that's Fatch, and it's in most distros repos. You can also find the link.
Well,
to their website.
here's an interesting idea. So you've got that running for you, and it's like, okay, so you're doing the family holiday photo thing, and you're thinking, oh, I'm really tired of answering the email over and over. Where can I go and buy photos of these things? You can take your Flickr account and watermark each photo at the very bottom of it, and say if you would like it to grab a copy of it. There you go.
Right.
Grab it from there, buy it from Flickr, you're good to go. And there's a lot of functionality there for sure.
And the thing you can get in trouble with some of those watermark programs is sometimes the way they do it is they add if it's a PNG or a GIF, they'll add a transparency layer, and then they'll put that on top of that, and it will almost double the file size in some cases. But this is really smart about the way it does it. You don't get that result.
Oh, okay. So you get a nice clean file.
Yeah. All right. That is the Fatch.
And does it use multiple threads?
I didn't really watch my processor core when I ran it, but I mean, we did 6 images in 2 seconds to PDF. And before, I did like 35 bitmaps to PNG, and it was like super fast.
Okay.
So if it's not multi-threaded,
it feels like it.
Well, it's definitely fast. I could try to run it again. We could find out.
That'd be kind of interesting. That was just something someone asked. I thought that's actually
all
a really
right.
good
Well,
question.
let's just see, because I did actually save my recipe in case I wanted to run it again. So let's see. Let's get rid of our other stuff. And I have a saved recipe here, so I'll go open that up.
Cool.
So we'll say open recent, because you can, as you formulate, that's stupid. As you formulate these, you can save them. So I did a PDF convert.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so we'll watch my processor cores here.
Okay, there we go.
And we'll let's kick it off. All right, and batch, and go. It went so fast it's hard to tell, but it looks like it maybe used 2 cores at least.
Yeah. Okay.
You see the spikes on those 2 cores there?
So I mean, I'd say it's probably.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know though. That's tough to say.
I mean, so I guess
it might only be 1 core.
The final result is it almost doesn't matter because it's so quick. So we're going to say it probably does if it needs to, but it probably doesn't need to.
A mail hauler in the live chat is saying it's only 1 core on his rig.
Okay.
So maybe, I don't know.
It may just not be necessary.
It could be the tools that it's sitting on top of are only single threaded. I know that when it comes to video encoding, the math of splitting the data about the different visuals across multiple cores is really tough.
It is.
And so, like WebM, horribly multi-threaded. Horribly. It's awful. Only really X264 has that.
Yeah, I'm becoming less and less of a fan of WebM lately.
All right, so I mentioned the live chat room. I should give it a plug. If you'd like to join the Linux Action Show live, you can go over to jblive.tv on a Sunday morning. That's 10 a.m. Pacific, which, if you're not a Pacific head, that's 1 p.m. Eastern, and it is 6 p.m. over in the London.
Yeah.
It's also...
Folks overseas have always been really awesome about being able to find us.
Yeah.
Great.
So you can join us live over jblive.tv and chat away in our chat room as we go. All right, Matt.
All right.
Let's do the news.
What's new in the news?
All right, Matt, for all of you who can use Netflix, this is a big story for you. Now, not all of our audience can take advantage of their wonderful Netflix service yet, but until today, Linux users really were out in the cold.
They were. And it kind of stunk because it's not like they weren't already paying customers, because they were.
Right. I'm paying a subscription.
Yeah.
They're running their systems on Linux and FreeBSD. And a lot of the devices that can play Netflix are Linux-based devices.
It seemed like a natural match. And to find that we were being left out like that, it was really mind-boggling.
And we technically still are, but I'm not sure if the guys at iHeartUbuntu.com, I guess they did come up with this solution. They've been on top of this.
They've been deeply involved.
Yeah, and they've put out a PPA now. And so this is how the story... First, there came this huge process of steps of loading a patched version of Wine, getting Firefox for Windows in there, then loading Silverlight, then doing all this special stuff.
It was very intimidating. I mean, because it was this laundry list of steps that you had to take, and honestly, it wasn't that attractive because you still had to remove your previous version of Wine to install this patched version and stand on one leg. And
exactly. And it's like, if you got a good install of Wine, do you want to break it?
No.
So they said, hold on, everybody. We're going to have a PPA out in a day or two, and they've delivered this morning. The PPA was posted on their website. You can add it to your Ubuntu repo or Mint, and you can add it and then install it. It's quite a list of dependencies that it pulls down with it.
Well, and it seemed like it was pretty much a seamless install.
Oh, Matt. Once you get the PPA added, you're in. And then, so here it is. If you're watching the video version, you can see I have a Netflix icon on my launcher. You fire that up. Now, the first time you load it up, it's going to pull down even more stuff.
I like that.
Wine pulls down like Firefox. It pulls down Silverlight.
Oh, okay. So your first launch may take a little longer initially, but then from then at that point on, it'll be good to go.
But then once it's done, here you are. It launches full screen by default, and this is the Netflix Watch Now interface in a Firefox window. And look, I could just click on resuming Sherlock.
Looks just like it would in Windows.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at this. We got for the audio listeners, we have a loading screen, and we are now
Watching
looking
Sherlock.
at Netflix. We're watching real video. It runs like a rock star.
Yeah.
This is viewable. This is full screen.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, it's like we're there now. And of course, I probably shouldn't show anymore, else we'll get pulled off of YouTube. But if we wanted to watch Spider-Man,
Yep.
boom, right there on Netflix, running here. Performance is just
Love
fine.
that.
I mean, I would not even know this is running under Wine. I would have no idea. I don't know. Actually, there's actually zero indication this is running.
And that's what I like and I think they probably are still, obviously they're using Wine at some level, but I think they compartmentalized it so where you're not having to tweak with your existing installation. You don't have to worry about it.
Well,
the PPA just handles all the
there it goes. There's Spider-Man. There it goes. It took a minute to show up.
Well, it's an old show.
You get the full Netflix player interface because it's the full-fledged thing, so you can control the playback just like you would.
That is so cool.
Oh man, it's the best. It's like, now here's the downside, right? Because you're doing this under emulation, there might be something that Netflix could do, like with maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe with your account. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this breaks some sort of Netflix use policy.
I don't think it would. And honestly, I don't think that they would bother detecting such a thing. I don't think, as much bad press as Netflix has been in over the years for making some interesting decisions, I don't think this is going to be a problem. If anything, I think it's an indicator of, hey, Netflix, look, we're so passionate about your product that we found a way to continue to be paying subscribers and to use it on our computers, despite the fact that you haven't felt comfortable or willing to adapt.
I just want to tell the chat room to go screw themselves. So look how many comments. Oh my God, Wine is not an emulator. Oh my God.
Who cares?
You guys. The damn name stands for Wine is not an emulator. Everybody knows that. But what else can you call it that people will understand? Because you're not running Windows, but you're running a Windows app.
Yep.
I realize it's an API translator. I get that. Okay? It's awesome regardless. Don't focus on the name of it and focus on how great it is that we can run Netflix on freaking Linux. They're missing the point there, Matt.
Well, and I don't care. That's their deal. But I mean, I love you guys, and I do, and we have some great dialogue. But hey, you got your opinion, I got mine. I think we're all groovy. But the whole thing of it is just that for Joe Blow or my mom or my brother or whoever,
they don't really care.
They don't care. They're like, oh, hey, cool. I got me a launcher. I did a PPA thing, and it's good to go.
I know. Yeah, the PPA thing is really quite straightforward. I mean, you open up, so you can copy and paste these lines. So you copy and paste these two lines into your terminal window, and then you hit enter.
Yep.
And it does the rest.
Yeah.
So while it's not like super user easy, you could definitely walk somebody over the phone how to do that.
Absolutely.
And then it puts the icon well, actually, it doesn't put it on the launcher by default, but once it's installed, you just search for Netflix and it shows up right there in the dash.
That's good to go. And slide it right in. And I would also acknowledge that I'm not going to say, oh, this just runs, it's absolutely flawless. And it's, obviously there's still going to be development.
I would think so.
There's going to be development. It's still going to continue. And I think more than anything, it's an awesome proof of concept. So even if you're not into watching it this way, because I'm a Roku guy, it's cool because it does, in fact, show Netflix, hey, there is an audience here. And by the way, if you want some usage numbers, there you go. There's this weird, looks like Windows, but not really thing going on. What's on with that? You can track that.
Because it goes full screen, you can't even tell. Right? I mean, especially if I hit F11. Oh, not that button. Is it F? Whatever button it is to make it go full screen. Yep. I mean, you can't even tell. I'm very pleased with that. I hope nothing breaks. And also, I should just give a plug over at the iHeartUbuntu.com blog.
Well, and they're trying to raise some funds there.
Yeah, they're trying to raise some funds, not only for themselves, but for Wine, too.
Yep. One last thing that someone brought up that they said, well, that's true, but the show's not for Joe Blow. And that is true. However, you have Joe Blows in your life. And if you're trying to convert them to Linux, this applies big time.
There's some extra notes for it. It looks like it might not be perfect for everybody. Oh well, who cares though? I mean, this Joe Blower for the most advanced user at all. If you have if you're paying for Netflix and you want to watch it on your Linux box, this is how you do it. Yeah. Now, if you're not running Ubuntu, you could probably still do the original workaround. You just don't have the PPA.
You can make it. Yeah, you can hand tweak it all you want all day long.
So we have a link to that in the show notes.
So because I mean, for some people, they may actually want to do that, especially if they are running other distributions, and that does matter. That you can go to Arch and make this happen. But if you have someone you are trying to convert to Linux at whatever level, whatever distribution you're using, having Netflix accessible to them, that matters. I'm just saying. So.
Hermit in the chat room says, Chris, with the PPA install, is there a convenient way just to launch the Silverlight Firefox so Hulu Xfinity would work? You know, I wonder if you could browse other pages. I suppose you could, right? You could pop it out of full screen mode because it's just Firefox.
Sure. Why not?
See, the reason why, the big thing about this is getting a version of Firefox and getting Silverlight with the DRM support. That's was the big hurdle there. So,
and that's where all the customization and all this stuff. You know, so for me, I'm excited about the proof of concept for myself
personally.
You know?
I just thought we were going to be waiting until Silverlight was dead.
Yeah, that could be a while. That could be a while. We've been waiting. How long have we been waiting on IE?
Well, yeah. Thankfully, I think Silverlight will die sooner. But very cool. Good work to the iHeart Ubuntu guys.
Yep.
And between Lightworks, Steam, and now this, I'm a happy boy these days.
It's cool to see the push of a lot of stuff that people are able to do on other platforms coming to Linux and being able to say, okay, well, maybe it's not the distro I'm using, but I can apply these techniques to the distro that interests me. That's awesome.
It does show you, though, how a lot of this stuff is coming to Ubuntu first. And that's going to start to sting more and more when you're not an Ubuntu user.
It will, but what's awesome about that, though, is that if I'm an Arch guy, and I'm not, but if I was, that it naturally falls into a lot of this stuff falls into place automatically anyway, because they're saying, oh, cool, they're doing it for Ubuntu, that's cute. I'll take it and apply it to the distro it matters to me, because that's kind of how they are anyway. This is what they like to do. They like to customize their distribution. So it's possible, it's doable, but more importantly, Ubuntu is kind of that top of the pyramid to where it's like it's getting the attention so the stuff becomes possible. Then you apply it to the distro you want, and you're good to go, happy.
Well, that's what I
lucky.
wonder.
Yeah.
Is Ubuntu going to become, and maybe this is over the top, but it almost seems like it's going to become the new standard Linux base in a sense. Like, we'll make our applications compatible with Ubuntu, and then if you guys want to work on your distro, you do the legwork.
Yeah.
But if you set things up kind of like we have it set up here, then you're going to be fine.
I think Ubuntu's become for passionate Linux folks, Ubuntu's not it. For the face of Linux, Ubuntu is it. Is that fair? Is it wrong? Is it mean? Is it? Everybody's got their opinions on it, but the fact of the world is that that's kind of what's happened, and that could eventually change someday. We don't know, but as it stands now, at least we have one distribution that's getting some of that public attention, and that's cool. And then we can apply, to wherever we want, to wherever we want. So it's cool. Whatever.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't beat that with a stick.
Let's talk about something that will impact all Linux, and that is HP's new contribution to the Linux Foundation. They've now become a platinum member, which means
That's
HP
wild.
has handed out 500,000 big ones
That is
to the
crazy.
Linux Foundation, which awards them a seat on the council, the White Council of Linux, where we will determine the future of Linux.
And I picture robes and staffs and like Gandalf and all kinds of things going on.
Right.
And it's kind of cool.
In exchange for all that cash, not only do they get a seat on the board, but they also have a say on how to advance the foundation's aims. And hopefully, maybe WebOS will get a little gentle push with all of this too.
That would be cool. I'd love to see some push on WebOS.
Open WebOS needs some love. And I believe, unless they just change their mind, these are annual. So they will be writing a $500,000 check every year.
That's awesome because that benefits everybody.
Right. I mean, the Linux Foundation pays Linus. The Linux Foundation puts on a ton of good stuff. That article we covered at the top of the show about Linux supercomputers and the study they did, funded by the Linux Foundation.
This feeds the developers.
Yeah.
Literally.
So it's very cool. So there you go.
Yep.
Congrats to HP for being awesome.
Yes.
Let's talk about an app that everybody out there just absolutely loves. Even if you don't use it all the time, you've probably at least played with it, and that's XBMC.
I live in that. I live it. I literally run it at home right now.
Bar none.
Yep.
The best media center out there.
Oh, yeah.
There might have been a couple of things that could use improvement, and one of them would be like live TV support.
I think, live TV support. But I would say, with, and I forget the exact library, but you can use an infrared remote control with it. That's what I do at home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of functionality with it. It's a great app.
So 12.0 beta just hit. So if you have been following XBMC, go check this out. Now, we have a Jupiter Broadcasting XBMC app.
We do.
I don't know if it works in 12.
I not tested it. See, ever since it came to Roku, I have not tested it, but I believe it does.
The screenshot.
Oh, it looks like
the screenshot has us in it.
Well, then I'm going to say probably does.
I assume it works.
Look.
Oh my God! Look at that. Look, we're completely.
Oh, that's wild. We're like lined up.
Yeah.
We're not. Wow, we've just totally outlined ourselves here. It's cool.
So here's a couple of high level features: HD audio support, live TV and PVR support, H.264 10-bit support, so you get higher quality video, 64-bit support for OS X to match their already 64-bit support in Linux, improved image support, improved AirPlay, so if you've got an iPhone or an iPad, advanced universal plug-and-play sharing, and here's a fun one, initial support for Android and full support for the Raspberry Pi.
That's interesting. Well, now here's what I would love to see happen. Now, you know, a lot of you XBMC users realize they have browser plugins for this app. How cool would it be to actually then bring in this Netflix hack into XBMC? Now, because I mean, come on, who doesn't want Netflix on in this setup? I do. I'm a user and I want Netflix in it. I don't care what distro you're running. That's what
pretty
you want,
much
right?
why I don't have an XBMC hooked up to my main TV and I have a boxy box.
Yep.
Is because Netflix. My kids love Netflix.
Yeah,
my wife
right.
loves Netflix. I love Netflix.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and that's what's left me with all these extra boxes of trying to hack to things. Yeah, I'd love to just compile it all into one thing.
absolutely.
Bam.
All right.
Awesome.
Let's catch everybody up on the Steam news of the week because there's been some developments. First of all, you might be familiar with Valve's Linux blog. That's moving. They're calling it a winter migration.
Okay.
And they're opening up what they're calling the Linux Hub. The Steam for Linux Hub. And, of course, I don't know why it's not loading. Chrome is awesome like that sometimes.
Yeah, just decides,
blanks
you know
the
what,
tab out.
Chris? You're not going to get to load this today. That's what it's saying for you.
Here's what's interesting about this, Matt. This, I believe, is a move by Valve to sort of bring in all of the unofficial beta testers who aren't blessed. Because we're talking like the list, I believe, is like...
It's got to be pretty extensive from what I've seen. You know?
I think the people who are trying this now is...
Outnumber.
And so Valve has opened up their beta forums.
Nice.
To read only to non-beta users. Before, only people in the beta could get to the forums.
Okay.
As sort of like a tepid acknowledgement that there's so many people out there. They've now given read access to the world so people can get in there. They're working on trying to organize the community around this hub.
Right.
Where you can go. We'll have a link to this in the show notes. The latest Valve Steam news will be here.
Okay.
So you can check this
I
out.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that they're not locking anyone out. They're not saying, you know what, you didn't do it officially, so we're going to lock you
Right.
out. They're actually working with you. That's cool.
And I've heard from a few folks who said that they did the beta workaround. They got it working before they were approved.
Right.
And then just this last week, were accepted into the beta. So it did not appear to affect their beta eligibility by playing around.
Okay.
Also, funnily enough, the Canonical folks who just attended UDS are just now getting the beta registrations. The general public got
So
theirs.
I think so. In reality, it actually worked out pretty well that people are doing it unofficially because it's getting the momentum that was needed.
So Valve says they're working on UI inconsistencies. We did detect a few of those. They're continuing to work on graphics drivers optimizations, and they have configurations to make to the Steam store to make it a little more Linux friendly.
Right on, guys.
Yeah, it's
good for Valve.
and they've added like
Awesome.
another round of people to the beta, so that's cool.
I love that. I love that.
Now it's not all roses, Matt. No, in
there's some
fact,
thorns.
there were some thorns. So we talked last week that the Arch folks had added the Steam beta deb or whatever they needed to do.
Well,
to the Arch repos.
Yep.
Well, it's been pulled.
Uh-oh.
It's been pulled from the Arch repos by Arch maintainers themselves. There's a couple of issues here. Part of what was troubling was Valve's Steam license. It comes down to, and this is a quote, "You may not in whole or in part copy, hot copy, reproduce, translate, reverse engineer with the specific circumstances where law permits, derive source code, modify, disassemble, decompile, or create derivative works based on the program, remove any proprietary notices, labels in the program, or attempt in any manner to circumvent security measures designed to control access to the program."
And so to clarify this further, this isn't an editorial. This is factually what's in the license.
In the Steam license.
Yeah, this is reality. So
Right.
so I think it's important to differentiate that because that opens up a lot of stuff for other distributions, not just Arch. That becomes confusing.
And something that Michael points out over at Phoronix is the Steam license agreement is the same across all platforms. Valve is well aware the Linux world doesn't begin and end with Ubuntu. And when he was talking with Gabe at their Linux engineers when he traveled to Bellevue, they made it quite clear that they're aware there's other distros in Ubuntu. Valve has said that in the clips that we've played on this show.
So they know it.
Yeah.
Well, and here's potentially what's going to happen is once they get all the bugs worked out and they're ready to go prime time with it, they may end up saying, here's a way you can go ahead and just compile this yourselves. That may happen. They just may not want to do it with it all. And I can understand
And they got to get the lawyers involved to tweak the Linux license.
They got to cover their butts.
It's
and so
going
I
to take
get
time.
it. As long as they don't ignore them in the long term, then I think that's okay.
Right.
That's my disclosure on that.
I don't infer any ill will from this other than it's just standard corporate stuff.
Yeah. They're trapped in it as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
So.
While we're talking about games,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before. I teased it actually last week a little bit, but Unity 4.0, now not Unity the desktop.
We're talking the game.
Unity, the 3D engine that game developers use to produce games for multiple platforms. With their 4.0 release, which just came out this week, they've added officially supported Linux as a publishing target.
Wow.
So when you're in the engine for Unity and you're creating a game, One of the options now will be export out a Linux binary. It's going to support 64-bit and 32-bit Linux. After building the player for Linux, you just literally, it'll compile it, and then you just go mark it executable, and you can run it.
Okay.
They support, officially, they'll be supporting 32 and 64-bit versions of Ubuntu, starting with version 10.10 of Maverick or newer. And they also will only be supporting graphics cards supplied by the graphics card vendor.
Makes sense. So I am curious why they went back so far in their support, back to 10.10. Is that just happenstance? I wonder what the mentality is with that. Probably just.
I would think that would be from customer demand, which customers in their case would be developers.
So maybe they have a system. Yeah, they could have a machine. It's working. It's off network, and they don't really want to upgrade it. It's hard to say.
Yes.
Cool.
Maybe, or maybe
the 10.10 though. That's
maybe the Steam box is going to be based on 10.10. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not, right?
Yeah, could be.
I can't imagine they'd be doing all this work on 12.04 and then ship. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
all right,
I don't know.
One last gaming news here before we get to some desktop news.
All right.
Have you heard this back and forth about Blizzard banning Linux users?
I remember hearing about it, and at the time, my stance was it was incredibly unfortunate. It needed to be rectified, but I don't believe it was ever malicious.
Right.
So.
And Blizzard was confronted about it, and Blizzard said, "Well, we don't block you for using wine. That's fine. We only block you for cheating. So you must have been a big cheater pants."
And that's where poor PR came into play. It was not malicious, but it was stupid. So
Blizzard has fessed up that they did misidentify people that were using wine as hackers. Yeah. Unfortunately, the best they can do is say, "Sorry, we'll offer you a refund." Not incredibly compelling. So I've gotten emails from folks who are just outraged and wanted us to do a whole show about this. I paid for Diablo 3. I loaded it on Linux. They told me they wouldn't block me, and then I got blocked, and my account was shut down. And because Diablo 3 requires an internet connection to play, even if you're playing local content, you have to log into the Battle.net service. And if they turn off your account, you can't play your local game. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, so, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is basically you're using wine to run this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's an idea. You're trying to prevent cheaters, and at the same time, you're also trying to not piss off your customers. All right. Why not team up with a crossover, crossover office or crossover games or whatever, and come up with something to where you can then say, okay, so you are a trackable, verifiable customer of this service. Give me we'll issue you a license number that basically says, no, I'm not a cheater. I'm a crossover user. Hello, I'm
interesting idea.
You can clarify me. I'm not just some random wine. I'm not just a cheater saying I'm a wine user. No, you're actually verifiable with an actual number.
Right.
Why not come up with some sort of a deal like that to where it's win-win? And quite frankly, it'd be a little money in crossovers pocket as well.
That would be great.
Simple.
What was kind of like
thinking,
not as elegant and official as your idea is what Blizzard did do is they had some developers create Play on Linux installation scripts.
That would be okay.
So you load Play on Linux. That would work too. It loads up Wine. It downloads everything you need. And to me, that was sort of like a half lukewarm. We're acknowledging people are doing this.
That's fine because then that allows them to at least verify. Oh no, they're not cheating. They are in fact.
But they didn't.
Legitimately.
Even those people, even the people that use the Play on
so they're
Linux
still
setup,
getting screwed.
They were still getting screwed.
Oh, no, see, that's not okay. No,
what it turned out to be, I believe, was a part of their cheating, like Punk Buster detector
automated.
That was picking up like possibly a bug in Wine, it sounds like, and interpreting that as cheating and then banning those folks.
Right. And I also acknowledge that unofficially, yes, Linux is unsupported, but that is by choice.
That was their first.
That was their first mistake. But there are dead simple DIY approaches that they could do to address this. And the option that I presented is a good option.
I think so.
They don't have to develop anything. They just literally got to say, here's a boxy where you put your little code in and you hit, and they can still say they're unsupported, but at least there's an option that keeps people from being punk busted.
And like you said, puts a little money in Crossover's pocket. I just don't know if Blizzard has any interest in doing that.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, it's you know
what?
They're not paying attention. They need to be.
You know what the answer is?
There's a lot going on.
I'm serious, and when I say this, I'm not even kidding. The answer is just play Torchlight. It's a better Diablo. It runs locally and it runs under Linux.
Well, there you go.
So
there it is. That it be.
All right. Compiz. Compiz, Barrel, all of that stuff. We've talked about it on this show for years now.
Yep.
Unity. Unity relies heavily on Compiz. It's essentially a Compiz plugin, right?
Yeah, it is.
So the fate of Compiz is, and of course a lot of people on XFCE throw in Compiz, a lot of stuff. Well, the lead developer of Compiz has left Canonical this week.
Oh, that's not good.
He had to make some life changes between a demanding university schedule, and he'd mentioned, I'd have a late night at the university, then I'd have to go home and keep working on Canonical stuff.
It could be great for him, but it's probably not so great for Canonical.
I hope they have a good system in place to sort of
fail-safe.
Yeah, throw somebody else in this position because obviously it's critical to their desktop strategy. He does actually mention in here that he plans to continue to work on Compiz. But he's got school.
Yeah.
He's probably going to get another job eventually.
I'm on his side with it. He's got to do what he's got to do for himself.
Yeah,
That's fine.
it's definitely up to Canonical now to put somebody else in that slot. But it's kind of weird because does he still technically own the project? Is it his project now? Do they have to fork it? It's a question.
I don't think that'll be so much an issue as it will be talent and time. If anything, I'm hoping this serves as a lesson for them and saying, oh, maybe we shouldn't put all our chips into one developer and we need to actually, tear some people out a little bit.
When you hear the word Compiz,
I think laggy.
Yeah, I think great idea, great technology,
bouncy windows.
Well, it's not just that anymore, but I don't know. I don't know if maybe it just hasn't. It's still not quite there yet. It's not there.
I disagree on that. If you have a modern system and you are using compatible hardware, it's there from that perspective. If you're buying a pre-set up machine, System 76, whomever, and you're set up there, it's totally doable. Yeah. But if they're putting all their chips into one developer basket, that's where it gets more scary for me than whether or not it works super awesome out of the box right now. That's more frightening to me personally.
Yeah.
A lot more frightening.
So it's a story that, we probably won't see a lot of headlines about, but by monitoring blogs and stuff like that, we'll stay on top of it. We'll let you
I think it's important. And if they're smart, they will keep this very quiet and deal with it and address it and not let it blow up on him.
This wouldn't have even been known if he hadn't posted to his own blog. Although I thought he did a good job. He's like, this is why I'm leaving. I love Canonical. It was a great place to work. Yeah. And All right.
Big props to him. Hope it goes well.
Last week, we talked about NVIDIA's very impressive performance update.
It was quite impressive.
That, really was like, people were saying 20, 30%.
Yeah.
In some cases, double performance across the board. Well, AMD has now released their driver after working with Valve. The new Catalyst driver improves performance. A big boost in Left 4 Dead, too.
Okay.
Not too surprising there since they've been working with Valve.
Right.
You can check it. It's Catalyst version 12.11, and it's beta 8 for Linux. It includes significant performance improvements across the board, but Phoronix benchmarks will be conducted in the next few days, so we'll actually get performance numbers from Phoronix, too. Right. They're saying, though, broad OpenGL Linux performance improvements that are not just isolated to Valve and Source.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, here's the $10,000 question: legacy cards.
Although they're saying some people in the chat room are saying that it might break Steam. So,
wow, really?
Oh man.
Well, that's not good. But that's definitely not good. But my bigger issue is I wonder how this is working for legacy cards. Is that something to where they're being clear on that maybe you need to use an older version, or I wonder how that works.
I don't know, man.
I do not know, but breaking Steam is a bad no-no.
That box is sitting there to your right has an ATI card, so I might try it.
Yeah, might
the one. I mean, the driver I was using when I did my test last week was just the driver that ships with Ubuntu. Right. So I haven't really tried that.
Well, and see, for me, I run dual desktops at home. I don't do a lot of gaming on that on my main machine. So I just use the open source driver, just frankly because it always ran better than the proprietary one for me. I don't know.
It's much more convenient.
Yeah, I mean, for non-gaming it does. Now for gaming, no, it will not work. But
no, sir. But if you just wanted the basics like Compiz and stuff like that, it does.
Yeah. In fact, it runs really well. Actually, quite happy with it.
And this is going to sound almost like I'm making an excuse for it. But I've noticed on my laptops that because in some cases it's not pushing the GPU as hard, my laptop runs cooler. Yeah. And if I'm not gaming and I'm just doing work, that's fine.
Yeah.
It really is fine.
Well, and for me, all my laptops are Intel based for graphics, just because I know it's going to work.
And the battery life is a lot.
Battery life's better, and it's a laptop, not a gaming rig. I don't need a lot of power on it.
So Matt, let's talk about Flash, something that makes your laptop heat up, regardless of what
I don't care what you're running. Flash.
No, it's going to heat up. Now, one of the reasons Flash has stayed around is it's really good at this keyframe animation. Set a point here, set a point here. It figures out everything that happens in between and move object A to spot B, right?
Out of control. Okay.
Very nice. And in fact, even when I was in school and Flash was still in the early days, teachers were like, this is incredible. Mozilla is working on something that's similar for HTML5. They're calling it Popcorn Maker, and they're shipping it. It's called 1.0. And this is coming out from the Mozilla project. It's written, the app itself is written in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, powered by popcorn.js.
Okay.
And it's a tool to give, to really kind of benefit the HTML5 ecosystem. We've got the UI here. You can see they've got a timeline based, just like sort of the Flash editor, a little simpler.
Oh, that's wild.
You lay out your key moments. There's the text. There's the animated objects. You can bring in Twitters. You can bring in images. You can bring all that, Google Maps into this thing. They can all be different events, and then you key it up.
I don't hate this.
No,
this is actually at first I'm thinking, okay, this is JavaScript, but I was like, this is actually not bad. Is it pretty snappy?
It solves a problem. I haven't played with it yet,
okay.
But I'll go over there right now.
Yeah.
It solves a problem. It solves the problem that Flash really still has a lock on. Video, you can start to work around, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of keyframe animation, there's really not been anything like this that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of anyway.
What's super cool, and I wanted to do this right here on the show, is because it's all HTML5 based, it works right here in my web browser. So I'm actually in the editor right now. This isn't a screenshot. This is live.
Okay.
So I can drag things around, and I can manipulate this project. See, now when I drag that text over there, see how it added down to my timeline?
And here's the real metric for me. I didn't see a lot of hanging. Sometimes with JavaScript stuff, it can be really just doggish, but it seemed like it really was snappy.
I like what they're trying to do here. I think,
this is very snappy.
It's probably got limitations compared to the full Flash suite.
Sure, but it's developing.
And what's great is when you're done, it's going to produce something that doesn't require a plugin.
I like
to play
that.
back, right?
WordPress people, check this out. It's kind of like, I like it.
Yeah, I could see a lot of like WordPress embed type
presentation-y type stuff. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff there.
So you can check it out. It's popcorn.webmaker.org, and you can go play with it right now in your web browser. I'm doing it in Chrome.
You don't transitions too. I mean, good grief.
You don't even have to have Firefox, right?
This
is I'm doing this in Chrome as well.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so very cool. Check
and the fact it doesn't just hang. See, that's the one thing. Again, it's JavaScript. So I'm a little leery, but I was like, this is not too shabby.
To share your project, so once you're done, it'll create a link and you can share it out and send it to people so people can go check it out. This is, this is obviously this is 1.0. They're going to add more stuff,
but this shows that yes, with proper development and time and resources,
let's play it. Let's see
Flash can be.
So my popcorn maker there, it popped up. See, they fade in. You see that? And that was just while we were talking. I just added that stuff. And look how easy this timeline is to use.
Really slick.
I can drag stuff and I can move it around really easy.
I would feel right at home in that, just playing with OpenShot and stuff. I mean, it just feels very natural.
I've never used this before, and
but very intuitive.
I've already added a Wikipedia entry. I've added text elements, and they fade in, which is really cool. Look at that! I love that they automatically added the transition like that.
That's slick.
Super cool. So a popcorn maker for the win.
I'm going to be playing with this myself when I get home. I think that's pretty cool.
I tell you, that JavaScript, huh?
Captain America proves.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. All right, Matt, let's talk a little about putting Ubuntu on a Nexus 7.
Yeah.
And actually, I just want to give you my thoughts on the Nexus 7 in general, too.
All right.
Because it's a pretty compelling piece of hardware, especially
I
for
was
the cost.
really surprised when you first showed me this at how,
right?
Yeah, it's just kind of like, whoa, hey, hello.
Yeah, it's like
that's
real.
Ubuntu
It exists.
On a tablet.
I know.
Right.
In fact, I'll give you some of my first impressions. But before we get to that, I want to say thank you to System76, who sponsored this segment of the Linux Action Show. In fact, they've even sent us one of these Wild Dog performance PCs that... Well, we just love to put that through its paces.
Yeah. It's a beast.
And we were chatting just before the show went on air and on just the live stream. And I was saying, I really like this all-in-one. And I realized that stand that all-in-one on can be removed, and then you can put it on an ARM. Mm-hmm. And then you told me a little story about when Mark Shuttleworth came across.
Yeah, there was apparently there's an event overseas, and System76 was there. It was an Ubuntu event, and Mark Shuttleworth had done his stuff, and he'd actually come down to the System76 booth and was commenting on the all-in-one PC itself.
Checking it
out, ran his fingers over the, checking out all the edges, really loved the lines, thought it was cool, stopped on the 76 logo, and point blank asked one of the employees, said, what does the 76 stands for? What's it represent? It represents freedom. It represents 1776. For Americans.
Yeah, what a great little tie-in.
But for the rest of the world,
really like open source and Ubuntu represents too.
And then for the rest of the world, it just represents freedom. It's representative of that ideal.
But let's be clear, it also makes for a great name.
It makes for a great name. It's very cool, and it's kind of like almost like I don't know, like MI5 kind of Secret Service style.
Yeah. So thank you, System76. If you would like a machine that comes preloaded with Linux that just works out of the box, go check out System76.com. All right, Matt. So. I'll start with my impressions of the Nexus 7.
All right.
First, it's a 7-inch. I didn't get the new 10 that's coming out. It has a very good build quality to it. The 7-inch screen is great. The size is great. Fits in the back pocket or fits in the coat pocket. That's wonderful.
Like form.
Battery life is fantastic. Performance under Android is really, really great.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Because it's a Nexus device, it already has the new Google Android 4.2. Like they pushed it out already, and that includes all of the neat features like Google Now and all of that kind of stuff. And the other thing, too, what a lot of people don't realize is you can actually pop the back off.
Oh, yeah?
So the back is removable. You can replace the battery. You can see the hole in there for the...
Right there.
cellular.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. What a concept.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Now, no back camera.
So
one thing.
Well,
Compared to the iPad, because that's what I have the most experience tablet-wise with, it does at times feel cramped. And, some of the apps
based
feel
on your
like...
screen real estate, you're talking? Okay.
Well, and some of the apps just feel like they could be doing a better job at taking advantage of the tablet.
Okay.
But that really is not a huge problem. It's not really that bad. And the overall versatility that this little tablet gives me is pretty impressive. I mean, I would definitely, for the price, give this a buy. And the performance, I think this thing's got a quad core versus the dual core in the 10-inch.
Oh, well, that's not... Okay.
So when you look at the battery life, you look at the size, the form factor, if you want something that really is portable, like the iPad, I would just start leaving it behind all the time.
Right.
Like, thing's heavy.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to lug it around. This has got a nice form factor.
I slipped this in the bag. I don't even know what's in there.
Yeah, totally.
But the real reason I got this is because it's very straightforward to unlock the bootloader and load Ubuntu on here.
Well, you got to like that.
You do got to like that. Now, we got a few points we got to cover. So we asked the audience, do you want us to discuss Ubuntu on the tablet?
Yeah.
Or do you want us to look at Proxmox, the virtualization software? 56% of the folks out there voted for Ubuntu on the tablet. 44% voted for Proxmox. So we're going to do Proxmox next week.
That's still... Oh, that's cool. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
All right.
So this week we're going to talk about Ubuntu on the tablet. And I thought maybe the best place to start with that would be Mark Shuttleworth at UDS, which was just like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
He was up there giving a little speech about why they want to put Ubuntu on the Nexus 7 and why they chose the Nexus 7 and sort of the direction they're going in with that.
Well, that's cool. So basically kind of giving his insights as to what the motivation is.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So I will play a little clip. Sorry if some folks are going to hear a little noise on the audio. I apologize about that.
I believe that stuff works itself out.
It will it will clear up when we're done playing the clip.
Okay.
So if you do hear
that
it,
works too.
All right, there you go. Here's Mark.
Yeah. Good bunch of you. So we've picked the Nexus 7 as a sample mobile device. And what we're going to do this cycle is bring up the Ubuntu desktop on the Nexus 7. So we're not making a tablet edition of Ubuntu. But if you think of what a tablet edition of Ubuntu would look like, the vast majority of it would have everything in common with the desktop edition of Ubuntu. So by choosing a device, we make it a lot easier for ourselves, both inside Canonical and in the community and in the broader Linux community, to compare notes, to compare benchmarks, to know that we're talking about the same bugs. This is a device that happens to be very widely available at a very reasonable price. The Android load on that and the Google experience is not bad. We think it could be enhanced with a little Ubuntu. And so that's why we've invited everybody to participate in this program. It's about squeezing down the draw on the battery. It's about understanding the pressure on memory when that happens and how we react to it. It's about looking at networking in a highly mobile context and seeing what we want to do from a networking point of view, how we want to reshape the stack so that people who are using Ubuntu in a mobile context know that they're connected, feel that they have control over how they're connected, and that we've explored and either handled or planned to handle all of the different network-specific use cases. So, when we started this process,
so there you
we
go.
want
So
to design
what he's saying there
a
is
family of experiences.
The Nexus 7 offers them a couple of nice advantages. One, it's cheap.
Yeah.
And two, and this I completely agree with, it's a very good device. So it's compelling enough on its own that you want to buy it just to have it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to use.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
yeah. And so I think this is interesting, right? Because when you look at the way the Plasma Active project went, they kind of went their own harder. They went Vivaldi.
Yeah.
And that has been a lot of trouble.
It has. It's presented a lot of challenges.
And I'm not saying it's the wrong approach because they're trying to do something at a hardware level and a software level. It's a different philosophy. It's a different idea.
Gutsy.
However, in terms of execution, I right here have a Nexus 7 running Ubuntu.
Yeah, it already is ready to go. I mean,
in terms of just raw execution, there's Unity running on this thing.
and it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I believe,
the Nexus 7 has not been out for that long, right? And so I want to cover a couple of things. Let's start with the horribly bald Mr. John O'Bacon. He did a blog post over on his site talking about kind of what they're targeting, how they want to get some testers, how they want to grow community participation.
So this is very much a development release that they're
Right. Oh,
going
yes. They're calling it Ubuntu Core.
Okay.
Like Mark said, they're more focusing on getting the memory usage down, the battery usage, all those kinds of things. And Jono outlines all of this in his blog. So if you guys are curious and want to help out with this, apologies about the cough, go check out his blog post. And the installation process is pretty straightforward. It's
Well, they got an official page for it and everything.
Oh yeah, they got
you just follow the directions.
They got a great Ubuntu wiki. All of this is right now. It's very Ubuntu focused.
Okay.
But you go to their wiki page.
Right.
They walk you through how to unlock the bootloader.
That I like. Okay, that's very helpful because then
Very
that gets people started nice and easily.
It does require that you have it hooked up to your laptop or desktop, and that you run one of their programs.
Okay.
And you have to, and they
reasonable.
tell you how to put this in its bootloader mode. It's like 1 or 2 commands. It's very, very easy. And then once you have it downloaded, once you've done that, you add their PPA repo to your machine, and then you go install the Nexus 7 installer. And once you have it loaded, it puts a little icon here in the launcher. You can see it's got a little N7
that's so
right there.
yeah. This is as easy as running Netflix.
Yeah, it is. In fact, it's even less packages and things like that. So then you say, I want to, you get 2 options when you run this thing. I want to install Ubuntu Core on the Nexus 7, or I want to exit.
And so for audio listeners, it's basically presenting a little dialog box that you just basically check the radio box that you want and hit OK.
Yep.
Simple.
And when you hit OK, it says, okay, well, what size do you have?
You select your size.
And I had the 32 gig because I knew I was going to be doing this, so I wanted to go big.
Sure.
And then what it does, first of all, it warns you, by the way, this is very much a development release.
That wins points with me right there.
Yeah.
They're clearly telling you, hey.
You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
You
I love
really
that.
got to keep that in mind.
That's cool.
At this point, it will go out and it will download an Ubuntu 12.10 image that has been customized with the Wi-Fi chipset driver.
Bingo.
The NVIDIA, what do they call the NVIDIA chipset? Oh, I'm totally drawing a blank. The NVIDIA chipset that's on here.
Sure.
The 3D chipset. They have a driver included with that. They load all that on here. They download the images and then they write it. They wipe the Nexus.
Okay.
So everything gets wiped
So you
out.
really need to be backing your stuff up first before you do this if you have anything important.
Tegra, thank you, chat room. It has the Tegra 3 chip in it.
Good.
And so they include the 3D drivers for that, and that way Unity is fully 3D accelerated. It wipes your device,
Right.
And then in fact, just unlocking the device wipes it. Then it loads the Ubuntu 12.10 image on here, and then you continue to get updates.
That's really cool. Well, and I love the fact that even though it's a development release, they've really streamlined this nicely.
So
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, like I had
Whole
a
thing, end to end.
They had an update that came down that fixed, I think it was like the volume indicator or something like
And
that.
that was from their PPA?
Yeah. So what they've done is it's basically an install of Ubuntu, and all of the repos, all the standard repos have been replaced with PPAs that point to the tablet.
So cool.
Stuff.
Okay, now you're
slick.
selling me on this tablet thing. It's
It
like,
works really well. Now, I have. Why don't we talk? Well, let's talk turkey. Let's talk a little performance.
Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. Yeah, it is. 'Tis the season.
Tis the season.
Tis the season. By the
Here
way,
in the States.
happy Thanksgiving to everybody that is watching this week. So let's see here. I have let's play browsing the Software Center.
All right. Yeah, this will be good.
The Software Center is a good app because this is a Canonical created app. So it gives you an idea of how performance is on a Canonical created product.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things about this is the actual touchscreen scrolling works in this app too.
Oh, that's that's helpful because that's something I would want from a tablet.
So for you audio folks, what I'm doing is after I've loaded up the Software Center, because the search dialog box is highlighted by default in the Software Center, it automatically brings up Onboard, which is the on-screen soft keyboard. We've talked about it before in LAS. It's actually in our segment bump. And the onboard keyboard is really great. We've talked about that before in the show. And it brings it up, and you can move the keyboard around. You type in what you're looking for. And I loaded Comics, which is a little comic viewing.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I love that app.
So here I am on the Comics page. You can see I'm scrolling it by using my finger. And they've even added a little bit of the bounce effect. So watch as I scroll up. As I scroll up, the page bounces a little bit.
So you do get your actual bounce.
You get the scroll bounce.
I like that.
Nice.
That's cool. That's cool.
Now you can see it's a little stuttery.
It will, but I go back to what I said earlier. For being this early in the development cycle and to still be this usable, I'm really surprised. And I've always been on the fence with tablets, and it's kind of like this starting to look kind of cool.
Now, not all not all applications support the touch scrolling. Like Firefox, you actually have to put your finger on the scroll bar, but then you just move your finger down.
Okay, like old school web browsing where
Yeah.
you actually. Okay, sure.
Now here I am. See, what's this? Let's check this out. So this is gedit. I'm going to launch gedit. So first I brought up the dash, and then I fire up gedit. You can see gedit loads pretty quickly.
All right, and you can
Now,
start seeing where Unity really plays
Watch
its
what it
part
does here, though. See, because gedit's on the lower portion of my screen, onboard goes up. And when I move gedit to the top of my screen,
it's like a
onboard
smart keyboard.
It moves the keyboard below, so that way it's not blocking where you're trying to type. So they already have some of that stuff worked out.
That's good. It's kind of important. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works pretty well. And there you go. So that's gedit. And you could just start typing right away.
I love the fact that the keyboard's smart like that and is able to basically detect where you're needing things, because that would be incredibly irritating. You're trying to type something out on
And the keyboard's in the way?
It's like totally in the way. It's like, I don't know what I just wrote.
It happens sometimes, but
Sure.
the onboard, see, they have this double arrow here. And,
Right.
And if I move that, if I grab that, I can just move the keyboard around on the screen.
Oh, now
So I
that's
can
interesting.
I can put the keyboard anywhere I want on the screen.
So for audio listeners, by holding down a specific key button, you can actually move the keyboard around and position it where you like.
Yeah.
And it seems to be
it's kind of hard.
it's a little tricky to do, but it looks like it works pretty well.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And of course, touch targets are like you noticed in pre-show.
Yeah,
the
there are
close
some-
button is very, very hard. So here, I'll try to hit the touch button and see if I can do it.
And for audio listeners, basically, it's like picture traditional Unity on a really small resolution. So you're very limited in space. And so I'm thinking maybe in the PPAs, being they're all dedicated anyway, how cool would it be in the next revision of this release for the tablet to have slightly bigger buttons and a slightly bigger bar at the top to be able to move things around a little bit?
And
very doable.
you can
That'd be
do
cool.
you can go into the settings, the appearance settings, and make the launcher bar a little bigger. You can make fonts a little bigger.
Sure.
But it's not.
It's not going to fix it automatically, but I think things like that would make it more usable, even just for development. I think that would be helpful.
So the screen here, I'll bring up the screen I'll play. So here I just wanted to show you guys, here's just me changing the background, just so you can kind of get for you video viewers, you kind of get an idea of what the performance is when you do a task like change the background. So I bring up appearance, and you can see that they kind of tile in there a little bit, and then I choose my background.
Oh yeah,
and it's not awesome, but it's working.
But it's working. And something and on that theme of working, I don't think we can stress this enough. The initial reaction of most people is to say, "Oh, well, I'm comparing this with with Android, or I'm comparing this with iOS, and it's just janky. It's just not working right. It's under heavy development. This is brand spanking new.
This is
not
for
ready
developers.
prime time.
And see here, Ubuntu recognizes the screen at 1280 by 800.
Yeah, so it's
very neat. And I can also adjust the rotation.
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
so I could actually make it counterclockwise. Yeah, and I don't know. It's
what would be cool is if you can do the USB to monitor or whatever, that kind of thing. That would be pretty. If in the future, not now.
Well,
obviously.
you know what you can do, and I have a link in the show notes for anybody that wants to try this, because this also just works under Android. Is I found on Amazon for $10 this micro USB OTG cable.
Oh.
And what this OTG cable lets you do is it hooks up to the micro USB port on the bottom of the Nexus, and then it adds a standard USB port. And now it has to have a special wiring in there. That's why it's OTG. But you can hook up a hub. You could hook up a keyboard. You could hook up a mouse. And then you have a full keyboard and mouse hooked up to this thing.
That's slick.
That is really slick. Now, the the chat room's asking me, and so for developers,
yeah, exactly.
if I was going to be developing, if I wanted to work on an application for this, I would probably go that.
You would want that, because then you're able to experience what the end user is experiencing, but you're also having the control that the developer needs with a keyboard and mouse.
And until they have it ready for all touching,
it's so early. Yeah.
Like you would not be able to use this as
No,
your main.
no.
Wi-Fi works, 3D works, but it's just the applications aren't really designed for it. Although I was really impressed with. I opened up the Software Center. Mm-hmm. Tons of apps.
Yeah,
it's not like
works.
it's not because it's ARM. There's like a seriously limited selection.
Right.
I installed KDE.
Oh, that's cool.
I installed Plasma Active. Unfortunately, Plasma Active that was in the repo for this was not updated since July.
Oh, okay, so it's using older stuff.
Yeah, because I think they've had 3.0 that came out more recently since then. And I kind of looked at that and I thought, gosh, the Plasma Active guys are really missing the boat here, because this is out. It's shipping. It's cheap. It's super easy to load. If they got some nice repos available for Ubuntu, so you could try Active on this thing. I mean, I did it.
Yeah, I think I look at it from another perspective. I differ slightly on this. I think that I would see it as if they can use Unity as a learning experience and say, okay, here's what Unity did correctly, here's what they did differently, and we would like to do differently, and use that, and then continue to progress and put out their own product, perhaps a little faster. I'm not ripping on them. I want to see that back and forth. I want to see a really solid KDE option. That would be awesome. And so, use this as an opportunity to better your project, I think.
The chat room just linked to us a keyboard case combo that's for the 7-inch tablet.
Oh, sweet.
It's all just in one. So that's pretty neat,
I need to get me one of these, man. I'm telling you.
It's neat to have a tablet and open up the terminal.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to apt-get.
Awesome.
The fact that I could apt-get install Ubuntu desktop on my tablet. Yeah.
It's just cool. Like, for even if you're not a developer, just the pure novelty of it is awesome, right?
So
it's cool.
Chris's recommendation to play if you want to see how your app performs on a low memory ARM device. That's a device you'd want to have anyways. Slam dunk. If you want to get a Nexus 7 to run, I would say if you're going to buy this, don't expect to run Ubuntu as your primary OS, maybe until 13.04.
Okay, so basically you're saying if you're a developer or maybe just want to see what it looks like, cool. But maybe if you're a regular end user, stick with Android.
By the way, just in general, my first impressions running Ubuntu on this was because the screen is so nice on this Nexus 7.
Yeah, it's really crisp.
I was taken aback at how sharp and crisp everything looks on the screen.
Fonts and icons have come a long way.
And look how good the launcher looks. Look how good that Firefox icon looks, right? I mean, it's just so beautiful. Yeah. It really looks good on this tight
Google outdid themselves. They really did. As did Ubuntu in this.
Also, the uniform icon size in the launcher bar makes so much sense in the touch environment. You see how they put everything in a block, and so they're all the same size. So they're all the same touch target. On the other desktop environments, the icons are various sizes.
And so it's different reactions and different...
And that's even true in freaking Android, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I've noticed a few of those.
But it really makes a difference when you're dealing with more of a desktop environment. So I totally see the logic, and it is interesting how there's a lot that works in Unity, but there's definitely some areas that don't work.
Well, and I think as they marry the Ubuntu desktop into an Android experience, as those two things merge more and more over time...
Yeah.
I was really, really, really skeptical when I first heard about this, and seeing it, I think with enough development, this could be something. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot for me to say.
I think that's the challenge. Because Not Bryant in the chat room is saying that this seems to me like it's one of those. Oh wow, this is so cool, Ubuntu on a tablet, but it won't go anywhere. And
I disagree.
I'd say in current state he's right. In its current
state, basically what I'm saying is that once you understand that you learn to compartmentalize alpha, development, beta, once you really grasp those concepts and realize this to the public doesn't exist yet, once it's ready for the public, and they do in fact marry Android into this more and more over time, it's gonna matter. And I'm a tablet skeptic, honestly. I'm very on the fence about tablets, and this is actually making me think, oh, okay, they get their wagon fixed on this. I might actually start looking.
Look at the cool desktops. The window. Eventually. Look at that, Vroom, and then you can just drag windows between desktops.
Exactly.
How effing cool is that?
The functionality is over time. I see myself revisiting this like a year from now and saying, where are we at? Well, maybe I'm on board.
I don't know if this will show up. But watch this, guys. If I hit that. Can they see that? Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah,
it's kind of hard to. Yeah, so I can.
You can totally see it.
Right now, this device the bloat is too much, and the device isn't powerful enough.
Yeah.
Canonical is working on getting that down, which will make every application better performing.
Exactly.
It'll make Intel laptops have better battery life. It'll make desktop applications across the board use less memory.
Exactly.
So that's good, and at the same time. These things are getting faster and more powerful.
That's right.
And honestly, Matt, it is not that far away from a point where I could take this, and if I could plug it into a dock and have a keyboard, mouse, and monitor, and have a full desktop, I could get all of my SSH work done, I could get all of my email done, I could get my web browsing done, sans Flash, which is fine.
Sure.
Why not?
Yep. Yeah, I think as this progresses, that it becomes more and more possible.
This could be a laptop killer one day.
Yeah, I think as the hardware converges with the development cycle on this, looking at it a year, maybe even two, I don't know, but looking at it in the future, I think there's some real potential here. I think there's a gigantic potential to change the way we look at portable computing.
Yes,
being either notebook or tablet. I think
it's just not
the line blurs more.
Yeah. I
really,
think it's
more
going
to Asus Transformer
and maybe this is what Microsoft's already trying to do, but their approach is still too far in the PC world. I like how, at its very basic, boiled down essence, this is 100% a tablet. It's not a tablet compromise. It's not a tablet PC combo that needs a smart cover. It is absolutely a true blue tablet device. However, with the Ubuntu OS on there and in USB connectivity or Bluetooth, it could also transform into a desktop. And if it was just a little faster,
Right.
and the stuff was a little more optimized, or if maybe it goes into full desktop mode when it's docked,
That would be helpful.
and I take it out of the dock and it goes into more like a Plasma Active type UI.
These are some awesome opportunities for them in the future, for sure.
And you know what else is neat is thanks to the Jupiter Broadcasting site using HTML5 video. Look, here we go. I'll load up the Jupiter Broadcasting page, and I'm happy to say, and this kind of also gives you an idea of performance. You can kind of watch. I'm happy to say our site layout, it works pretty good in touch.
It does,
with the big artwork there. And then you can hit play, and because that's HTML5 video, WebM, CPU decoded, so it doesn't play back super great, and it's kind of a big video file, so it doesn't play great.
So the hardware hasn't arrived yet, necessarily.
If they could get hardware accelerated decoding for WebM, I think that would help a lot. But if it was a lower res video, I think it would work.
I think so.
And that's just super cool.
Yeah, I'm real excited to see where this goes. I think that the takeaway here is at this time it's an awesome thing for development. It's an awesome thing just to see how it works, but it's something more importantly to watch as it develops, as the hardware converges with the other stuff. This is going to be a game changer. Is it going to replace a laptop now?
No.
Someday with a larger screen? Very likely,
yes.
I think it could.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually agree. I think it really could replace a laptop.
I think tablet size will vary person
for the
to
right
person.
workload.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you need a dedicated GPU and you need you need x86 or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not going to be.
You're not going to be playing WoW on this or anything like that, but I'm just saying, you're not going to be playing games or whatever. But I think, depending on tablet size, depending on all the convergence of the technologies, who knows?
Pretty neat.
Who knows?
Definitely a hearty recommendation for the Nexus 7.
Oh, yeah.
My son loves the size, too. My 3-year-old just loves
perfect.
He can carry it around. Plays Angry Birds great. He's happy.
Looks real solid.
In fact, he wasn't a big fan of the Ubuntu install.
Well, lacking the stuff he wants, right?
Exactly.
Lacking the Android.
Yeah. He wants his Angry Birds and all that kind of stuff. So
that's cool.
Anyways, if you were thinking about picking yourself up one as maybe a holiday gift to yourself or to a family member, I totally recommend it. Why not throw Ubuntu on there? And now, at least I got an unlocked bootloader. I can throw other ROMs on there.
Yeah, you can play. You can play. And I love the fact that they made unlocking so easy. That's fantastic. It gives you a lot of control.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Matt. Well, that's the Linux Action Show's look at Ubuntu on the Nexus 7. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. Now, Matt, before we get out of here, why don't we cover a few emails?
Let's hear it.
I want to just a couple of real quick follow-ups to this. There's a few things that I thought were neat that Canonical's already got working under Ubuntu. They have some multi-touch gestures on the Nexus. 4 taps on the screen brings up the dash. 3 taps does something else. A couple of different taps will do multi-click. So they've already got multi-touch gestures working in there. I just wanted to give that a mention.
That's worth knowing. Yeah.
And there was a couple other questions that the chat room had come up, but I also wanted to reiterate that I still am kind of leaning more towards the Nexus 7 over the Nexus 10 if you're looking at both. My 2 contributing factors, and I could be wrong on this first one, is I believe the 10 is only dual core, the 7 is quad, but also they're not making Ubuntu for the 10 yet.
To the best of our knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, but the chat room seems to, but the Nexus 10 could be great actually. So don't, I haven't tried it. So don't take the chat room says it's fast. So don't take my word for it. I haven't tried it. All right, let's get to our emails. Pico writes in, I love watching Last and TechSnap. Thanks for putting that out there for Linux enthusiasts. Personally, I use Arch Linux, and somehow I miss that penguin in the corner at boot time. Nonetheless, he says he's noticed it on some airlines, like Colombia's airline. When on their onboard entertainment systems, we've got a lot of people that email in, and they've seen when the flight lands and everybody's onboarding or offboarding. Sometimes they'll reboot all the entertainment systems built into the seats, and you'll see Linux flash up there.
That's cool.
So I thought we'd help them out. So have you ever seen that, when you boot up a system? Now, it doesn't, like for any distro that gives you a splash screen, you won't see this. But on some systems, for every CPU core you have in your computer, a little Tux penguin will show up.
Yes, I've seen that. The casinos, actually, for their slot machines.
Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
they're rocking Linux.
He saw it on the airline. You saw it at the slot machines. Yeah. Well, that's a compile time option in the kernel. And I've included a link to a super user Stack Exchange site that will tell you a little bit about how you can do that. There's a couple of environments you have to, with your frame buffer, you got to set these options in your kernel, but you can actually get it back.
That's cool. All right, well, that's good to know.
So I have a link to that. All right. Next question comes in from Peter with too many E's. He says, hi, I want to share a wonderful sysadmin distro with you. It's called Finnix, F-I-N-N-I-X. It's a live media type distribution. It's not really meant for desktop installs, but the last time I needed to recover data from my encrypted hard drive, it came in really handy. It's Debian-based and has a nifty feature of specifying the root password via boot parameters or PXE. So like,
I
network
like
coding.
that. That's pretty sweet.
See, I'd also like to get some advice on how to secure his home wireless network. So far, I have WPA2 with a really complex password, and my family is annoyed every time I try to get them every time they get a new device and have to type it in. Is there a better way to provide more security and maybe make the user's life a bit easier?
Well,
What do you think, Matt? Some of the Wi-Fi security?
I mean,
security.
personally, I mean, as long as you're not doing web, because that's just, you might as well just open your network at that point.
Yeah.
It's a total waste of time. Honestly, with WPA2, nothing's ever going to be truly bulletproof. The only way you're going to ever have a truly bulletproof experience is to have a completely run a separate LAN that has no outside access at all. I'm talking like CIA style, man. Dude. It's hardcore. And you can do that. If you're really that concerned about it, instead of throwing software at it, compartmentalize.
So there's kind of like two ways you could do that, right?
Yeah.
So you could have like an internal Wi-Fi that is on your internal LAN, and then you could have another router that's like plugged into like the internet only somehow.
Yeah, right.
Or if you have a router that you can replace the firmware, like some of them, like with Tomato or one of those other
That's a good point.
DDWRT, whatever you want to use. A lot of them, if you have the right hardware, like I have a Linksys that'll do this. I have a private Wi-Fi network and I have a public Wi-Fi network.
That's helpful.
And the public Wi-Fi network is internet access only. It's much like you got on that today, right?
Right.
You on your Android phone plugged in the password and you were just boom right on. And then there was two networks on that list, right? The second network is my internal network, and that's you get an internal LAN IP. You can talk to all the internal hosts.
Okay, so you got some compartmentalization there.
Yeah,
I like
so essentially
that.
what you're talking about, only all on one router.
But I like that from a hardware perspective.
So he might want to check
tidy.
that out. But you could also just do it with multiple routers. Just make sure your channels aren't bumping into each other. That can be the problem when you go that route.
Yeah, because I mean, a buddy of mine, he actually does it that way. He has one network that has absolutely no wireless at all. It's just strictly hardwired. I mean, you would literally have to break into the house to get onto that network, and then you can go that route. Just pipe into the internet from that. That's certainly an option.
Yeah,
whichever.
All right.
Either way.
Next email, and again, you can email us linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting.com or hit that contact link at the top of the show, or start a thread in our subreddit.
Ooh, yeah.
Jacob writes in, Chris and Matt, let me be brief. My TV died. I need a new TV. Is anyone making Ubuntu TV yet? If not, when are they doing that?
Well, my first initial thoughts on this
don't think
are not only is it, I don't think it's happening yet. If it is happening, it's really early, and you don't necessarily want you don't really want to be an early adopter on something like that.
Not on your TV.
No. I mean, there's already a lot of really great the LED TVs. Pretty much any of the brand names there. That's where I would start with.
Here's what for Jacob, what I would do: get yourself a nice TV, focus on the best TV that you can afford, the best size, all that, and then I mean, it's not the most elegant thing, but hook up a PC to it. And guess what? I got a link in the show notes that I actually tell you how to install Ubuntu TV on your computer. Now, you do need to be using, to make this be smooth, you need to use Ubuntu 12.10.
Yes.
But here it is. There's an Ask Ubuntu page. All of the steps, and it's actually not that crazy. There's more steps here than I actually need to follow. To get Ubuntu TV working on an installation. And then you hook that up. You could switch between XBMC. You can switch between Ubuntu TV,
Well, and another option is you go to make sure you've got the Jupiter Broadcasting plugin installed for the affiliate stuff, and then go and get yourself one of those little $45 Android. Well, the Android guys.
Yeah.
You can get a similar experience. I mean, it's not going to be Ubuntu, but you can still have a kind of a web TV experience.
Totes.
That works. Or Roku.
I was thinking he could go Roku and just hang tight until like Ubuntu TV is where he's at. Honestly, though, this is the thing. XBMC is so nice.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd want Ubuntu TV.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, really,
honestly,
XBMC is very nice.
It's kind of killed a lot of the interest in a lot of other stuff. So it's gonna have to really be pretty impressive.
If you want to poke them, I linked their Google Plus profile. Ubuntu TV has its own Google Plus profile. They have shots of it in demo. You can ask them, where it's at. They also have ubuntu.com/TV or something like that, and you can see. They have a demonstration of it in action, and the code's out there. You can go get the code for this. So
you could probably do something. Another option someone pointed out in the chat room is Raspberry Pi with XBMC.
Totally.
Yeah, you can totally go that route and just solve a big problem there.
They're still kind of. I think that they're at the point where they're hoping OEMs come on board.
Yeah, I believe so.
But
it works.
It looks like it has some.
Well,
it looks like it has some pretty compelling features. Actually,
it's pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It looks very nice.
Netflixy.
In the living room, the spousal factor is the approval factor is a little higher. If it looks good, so that is something to consider.
Yeah, my wife might be all right with this.
Yeah, I mean, right? It seems like it would pass the wife sniff test.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
All right, so you can check that out. All right, Matt. Next question comes in from Roy. Any chance you could add a mobile torrent download link for the Linux Action Show, just like you do for TechSnap? Well, Roy, we actually have secretly had a mobile page, a mobile torrent download this entire time.
Oh, yeah?
The reason it's not linked on the show notes page is because it's automatically generated from BitLove. And I hand generate the HD torrent. And so it's available immediately. So that way folks can start downloading it immediately. And if I had a mobile link on there that wasn't the same as so the HD link is updated instantly. And the mobile link takes a few hours to update. So it'd be confusing for people. So I haven't linked it, although I might start.
You could link it with a little disclosure.
Maybe.
Yeah, that might be all right.
You can find it, though. I'll link to it in the show notes. We do have a BitLove. bitlove.org/JupiterBroadcasting/lastmobile will be the Linux Action Show mobile torrent feed, and I'll put our RSS link in the show notes, too.
Right on.
It's the mobile versions of all of our shows in torrent forms, and that helps us defer the bandwidth costs. It's not very well known, so it's not very well used at this point, but maybe it will start to be.
That'd be awesome.
So there you go. Matt, where should people find you throughout the week?
As always, you can find me at datamation.com. Just look for me at the open source channel, and I'm up there. And you can also find some of my legacy articles at matthartley.com. I am actually still working on some stuff. It's coming. It's getting there. But the more recent stuff is always going to be at datamation.com.
There you go. All right, now just a quick public service announcement for those of you who watch our other shows. There's going to be no Unfilter this week and no SciByte. We're taking it off for Thanksgiving. And TechSnap will be live on Wednesday instead of Thursday. So if you watch any of those shows, just so you know, join us next week. Yep. We're going to talk about Proxmox. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you who celebrate it. And you know what we're thankful for? You guys.
Absolutely.
You guys. So, go out there and fill your face full of food and then come back on Sunday. And if you would, because it's a holiday week, the news is going to be light. So we really need the help this week in our subreddit. We have an awesome subreddit over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com. And we could definitely use the help this week finding some of the best stories and voting them up because it's going to be a barren wasteland this week going for
really
news.
is.
Unless something big happens.
Well, and if you go to some of the offshore stuff outside of the U.S., outside of North America, I think you might find some stuff.
Yeah, it turns out there's a whole world out there.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, right?
I know. I found out once I started doing podcasts.
Did you know Canadians had Thanksgiving last week?
What?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, because we have to skip.
I totally forgot to give you guys a shout out.
That was a couple of weeks ago, I think.
It was a couple, it was October. So I totally meant to give you guys a shout out for that. So happy belated Thanksgiving to you guys.
We because Alan's Canadian, I think we probably gave a shout out in Texas.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So they got their shout out if they tuned into
shout
Texas.
out. All right, cool.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, and we'll see you right back here next week. You know what would be really funny? To cook some bacon, just like as we're doing the show.
That would be kind of cool.
Have like an electric griddle here. And
you could probably do a USB bacon cooker if you had like a hub involved that's powered.
We should have an episode where we have like something to cook hot dogs, and we're just cooking hot dogs and doing a show.
That would be awesome.